You know, there is one movie director whose name is synonymous with everything that this channel celebrates. The summer blockbuster, the sense of wonder, the magic of a film that makes you feel like a child experiencing something genuinely extraordinary for the very first time. That director is Steven Spielberg, the greatest director of the golden era of American cinema, and my favorite director of all time. Today, what we're going to do with this extraordinary new 4K collection in hand, I am going to rank his films. Definitive ranking. My personal rankings as a filmmaker and a fan, my honest takes, and at least 2 or 3 are probably going to start genuine fights in the comments. I don't care. I will defend them. Let's go. Pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, so quick clarification before we start, as I have this awesome limited edition Spielberg set in hand. I am a massive Spielberg fan, and for me this was a no-brainer because I didn't have 4 of the movies that are in this on 4K. So 4K is the way with all the extras, and Mr. Steven Spielberg, we have the collection here. I'm going to set that right aside. Very, very cool. And some of the movies are right here. But this is my personal ranking. This isn't supposed to be like Rotten Tomatoes, because that's just a collection of other people's opinions and thoughts, whether they're professional or otherwise. I'm a professional filmmaker. These are my thoughts as that, and a fan. These are the ones that matter the most to me. Not a comprehensive list of his filmography. This is a top 15. Top 15 of all times, and that was tough enough as it is. So if your favorite isn't here, it wasn't forgotten. It just didn't make my personal 15. I will absolutely defend, as a professional and a fan, the placement and every film on this list. But it's probably going to be pretty fun anyway. Let's count them down. We're going to start at number 15 in 2005 with a film that was in this collection. It is War of the Worlds. Yes, we open at the bottom with a film that has spent 20 years being underrated, in my opinion. 20 years. Gosh, that's so fast. Tom Cruise, Dakota Fanning, an alien invasion told entirely from the ground level. A tale as old as time. War of the Worlds has been around. But this is from the perspective of an ordinary man, right? Who's trying to get his children to safety. No military command centers. No big presidential speeches. We will not go quietly into the night. No global perspective. Just Ray running with his kids. And here's what War of the Worlds gets right that I think a lot of alien invasion films miss entirely. The terror of not understanding what in the hell is happening. Plain and simple. Ray is not a hero. He's a dad. He's not anything special. He has no kind of information that gives him an edge, anything that he can do. He's simply a father in the middle of something crazy, trying to survive and protect his 2 children. That ground level perspective, which is borrowed directly from the H.G. Wells original novel, is what gives the sustained dread and intensity to the first 2 acts of this film and lifts it up as one of the most effective Spielberg has created, in my opinion. The ending is rushed and unsatisfying. Maybe The Arrival feels definitely like a different film. Tim Robbins' basement sequence goes on a little too long. Listen, it has its problems for sure. But number 15, underrated, worth revisiting, awesome Spielberg alien film. Yeah, it's number 15. All right, I want to address something with number 14 because we're going to 1993's Schindler's List. And the placement here, because a lot of people are like, how, that's the greatest film and one of the greatest films ever. My list, my honest, complete explanation. Schindler's List is a great film. It is a great film. One of the greatest films ever made. You could argue that. One of the most important American films of the 1990s. You can argue that. A film that changed the world, an understanding of a lot of historical things, all that, yada, 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 cinema history approaches. Yes, all that. It's number 14 on my personal list for an honest reason. I can't and don't want to watch it regularly. Not because it isn't a great film, but because it's heavy. It demands way too much of a toll from you emotionally. You're not watching it for an enjoyable experience. It's more like an obligation to watch. It's important. It's necessary. All that. There are films that rank above it because rewatchability and the fun of wanting to rewatch plays a lot, in my opinion, as both a fan and a filmmaker. It just does. And Schindler's List is one that you watch with reverence, you appreciate the filmmaking, but it takes you a long time to just kind of go past it. That's not a criticism. That's a testament, really, in a lot of ways, to what it achieves with complete sincerity. But for me, it might be one of Spielberg's greatest. That's why it's on this list. I love Spielberg. This is my personal list. Rewatchability is a factor. It's too heavy for that. It comes in at 14. And then we go to 2002 for something completely unexpected, kind of, from Steven Spielberg. It's Catch Me If You Can. Steven Spielberg with a breezy, stylish, charming crime caper on the true story of Frank Abagnale Jr., I can never say his name, who is one of the most successful con men in American history. He's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who is super charismatic in the film. Tom Hanks is the FBI agent pursuing him. Steven Spielberg's better half, John Williams, doing his most playful type score in this. And a lot of fun, a fun score. Like one of the fun, like Indiana Jones was fun. This is fun as well. Catch Me If You Can is Spielberg in just pure entertainment mode. Just the complete opposite of Schindler's List. No agenda, no message, no weight. Just pleasure of watching a gifted filmmaker work with gifted actors and a gifted cast with compelling and fun material. A father-son relationship between DiCaprio and Christopher Walken. That's really good. It's got emotional moments. It's not working too hard on them because it's fun. Catch Me If You Can is Steven Spielberg. This is kind of like how most devoted fans think of him, as casual audience tends to forget. A movie like this with him that's just fun and entertaining, deserves more credit than it gets. Catch Me If You Can. And then maybe one that's unexpected from some people that don't know Spielberg that well. At number 12 is 1971's Duel. And this thing is the blueprint for Jaws. This one's one that almost nobody ever adds to their Spielberg list. They forget about it. But you can't know anything about Spielberg without this film. Duel is Steven Spielberg's first big feature film, made for television in 1971 or 72. You got a traveling salesman on a California highway, and he's pursued by an enormous unseen truck driver, his enormous truck and an unseen truck driver who appears to want to kill him for no discernible reason, which is always the most scary thing. That's the entire film. A man, a car, a truck being stalked. All of this years before Jaws. Spielberg already understood the fundamental principle of cinematic fear. This thing, he actually showed them this movie to get the job with Jaws. The threat is more terrifying when you can't see it. You never see the truck driver. You never know why he's doing this. You never get an explanation. The truck itself becomes a monster, hunting, inescapable, impossibly persistent, coming after you. It is absolutely awesome. The blueprint for Jaws, essential viewing for anyone who wants to think about not only Spielberg and his list, but how to do fear in horror movies and tension. Duel, severely underrated. And now to 1991, because The Hook brings you back. It is Hook. This is a beloved film. This is childlike wonder of Spielberg, but this is a little bit different. This one actually goes deeper. You got Robin Williams as Peter, a corporate lawyer who has forgotten that he was once the mythical Peter Pan, and he is dragged back to Neverland when Captain Hook kidnaps his children. Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell, Bob Hoskins as Smee, and the Lost Boys led by Rufio, a character who shouldn't work but actually does. Hook is not Spielberg being like a perfect filmmaker by any stretch. This is the childlike wonder of Spielberg. The first act is the real world. Some people can say it's slower than it needs to be. Maybe the film's longer than it needs to be. There's a critical consensus on that. I don't care. They're wrong. So they dismiss it as a bloated misfire, critics do, which blows my mind, because what Hook achieves that critics fail to see because they have no imagination and sense of wonder is that Peter sort of like, when he begins to remember who he is, we see that separation of like what happens to us as we grow up, the risk of losing what makes us who we are, our imagination, our hopes, our dreams, all of that, losing that and just becoming another brick in the wall and trying to get it back, and the joy of realizing you can get it back and have both things. That is Spielberg. That is magic. That is the sense of wonder. I really enjoy this movie. It is magic to me. It needs to be protected at all costs. So does Spielberg. This is pure childlike magic that we should never forget just because we grow up. Hook comes in at number 11. Now we go to 2002 for some more sci-fi with Minority Report. Underrated, working with Tom Cruise, again, actually before the other time. And this one's set in the future in 2054 in Washington, D.C. Police Division, where they catch criminals who commit crimes before they ever happen using a psychic visions by three beings called the Precogs. Minority Report is an intellectually rigorous film. There is no doubt about that. The world building, though, is extraordinary in this. Every detail of the futuristic society. The philosophical question of can you punish someone for a crime they have not committed yet is one that the film takes on seriously rather than using a backdrop. There's a big part here. Tom Cruise delivers fully in this. The man is an absolute movie star. The emotional stakes are high. And this isn't Spielberg doing the wonder making like he did with Hook. This is something completely different. This is intellectual. This is sci-fi. This is asking real difficult questions, real difficult scenarios, and it's still extraordinary filmmaking. It's still fun. It's got action, excitement, edge of your seat kind of stuff. Nice mystery in there, things to puzzle out, everything. Checks every box for me. Minority Report cracking the top 10. Now let's jump back to 1977 with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And this is the film that established the template before anyone knew that Spielberg really had a template, right? Richard Dreyfuss in this as an Indiana Power Company worker who becomes obsessed with a vision he cannot explain about a UFO encounter, and the journey from his domestic life to just heading off into the cosmos, which is still not my favorite kind of ending as a father. But Close Encounters is a very personal story to Spielberg early on because of the wonder of it. He's all into the aliens and things like that. He's got Disclosure Day coming out. That's still going with him. The alien contact is something Spielberg has returned to a lot in his career. This is one that is in this set over here, as was, of course, Schindler's List and War of the Worlds. But this movie, the Devil's Tower sequence at the end, John Williams again with a 5-note theme becoming the language of this film. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is a film that explains why Steven Spielberg is a filmmaker and the type of filmmaker he is, which is extraordinary. Everything he believes, wonders, imagines, thinks about, philosophizes about is hidden under like all this extraordinary stuff he puts in movies. That's what you get in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It comes in at number 9. Now at number 8, we go to 1998's Saving Private Ryan, which is also part of this beautiful set. And the opening minutes of Saving Private Ryan are some of the most technically accomplished, like visceral, realistic, scary, difficult to watch depictions of war in the history of cinema. There is no question about it. The Omaha Beach sequence, the terror, the sacrifice, D-Day, all of that, watching it happen, the trauma responses, it's like being there in a way that you never want to be, and it makes you want to go thank everyone for their service of that and their families who are left behind. It is incredible. Tom Hanks as Captain Miller gives one of the best performances of his career. The ensemble cast is deep here. Tom Sizemore, Edward Burns, Vin Diesel early on in this, Barry Pepper, Adam Goldberg, each creating a fully realized, legitimate character that could have been in this time period and in the war. Saving Private Ryan sits at number 8 for the same reason Schindler's List sits at 14. It's tough to watch. It's very, very tough to watch. The craft's extraordinary. The movie's extraordinary. The acting is awesome. But man, it takes a toll on you to watch it. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to go watch a good movie and have some fun and pop in Saving Private Ryan. That's not what you do. So rewatchability counts for me. Saving Private Ryan, great movie. It comes in at number 8. Now at number 7, we go to one that nobody talks about. It's 2022's The Fabelmans. And this is Spielberg like at his most like stripped down, vulnerable, because this is a movie about him in his life. The story of Sammy Fabelman, a young boy in 1950s and 60s America who discovers his passion for filmmaking while navigating his family essentially breaking apart. And you got Michelle Williams in this, who plays, quote-unquote, Steven Spielberg's mom when he was a kid. She gets an Academy Award nomination for her performance in this as his mother. You got Paul Dano as his father. Seth Rogen, unfortunately, does make an appearance, although he's competent in this movie. The Fabelmans is a movie, though, where Spielberg finally tells us directly what cinema, what making movies means to him. And it is, it's basically an autobiographical pick here. And like, this is a kid from, it just goes through his whole life all the way up to, you see him making films, what he goes through in high school, all the way up to where Spielberg met the legendary John Ford when he was, that's all in here. It's in the trailer. That's not a spoiler if you haven't seen it. Check out this movie, because the late great David Lynch plays John Ford. That is worth the price of admission. See who Spielberg was and how he came to love movies before he became Spielberg as we know him. The Fabelmans, exceptionally well done. All right, so now for the movie and the placement that is going to generate probably the most comments and maybe anger and ugly words and stuff down here. Because at number 6 is 2018's Ready Player One. And Ready Player One, setting above Private Ryan, Close Encounters, Schindler's List, is not an accident. No, I didn't mess up. No, I'm not crazy. Here is my defense of this. Not that I have to, it's my list. But Ready Player One is one of the most relevant Spielberg films ever made to the time that we are living in now. Not only that, of course, it has all the great 70s, 80s, 90s pop culture, which I love and which Spielberg is forever associated with and connected to, and that built the time period that he became famous in. But this film is set in 2045, not that far off. The world is collapsing, but everybody has retreated online into a artificial intelligence virtual reality world known as the Oasis, where guess what? They get to go back and live the greatest 70s, 80s, 90s pop culture ever. That's what it is. Everything that this channel celebrates is there. But here is the thing, and there is a little spoilers here on this if you haven't seen it. At the end of Ready Player One, they realize everybody is so addicted to this. They're so consumed with being in this fake online world that nobody knows anyone anymore in the real world. Nobody connects. Nobody talks. So when they finally do, the right people take over the Oasis, the very first thing they do is shut it down a couple of days a week so that everyone has to reconnect in the real world. It shows the dangers of living all online in a virtual imitation of our reality, and how the real world is where all the connections and the meaningful things that they're celebrating and doing in there, that's where they really happen. that's where they matter the most. This film captures all of that as a warning, and the hopefulness of it, the message of it is so relevant to today, and it's all tied up with Spielberg magic and all of that pop culture we love. So yeah, Ready Player One comes in at number 6 for me. All right, now we are into our top 5, and at number 5 is E.T., the Extraterrestrial from 1982. Of course, this is in the set as well. This is the most emotional film Spielberg has ever made. Everybody realizes that. You got a 10-year-old boy who finds an alien hiding in his backyard. He's got to get E.T. home. But man, this thing is so iconic. All right, you got E.T. phone home. You got Reese's Pieces. You got John Williams' score. This is just one of the most legendary films ever. Everybody knows E.T. You can't find anyone who doesn't know E.T. The riding the bike across the moon, all of that. There's just no question. Is anybody really going to fight me on E.T. being in the top 5? Some people might say it should be higher, but it has to at least be in the top 5. Even though it's not even my... Like I could argue there are things I like about Close Encounters better as an alien movie, but this is just so iconic to when I was a kid and growing up, and it's just Spielberg being Spielberg. Legendary. Should have won the Academy Award. E.T. comes in at number 5. All right, now at number 4, here's me trying to be objective too as a filmmaker. At number 4 is my favorite Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from 1989. And I obviously love Raiders. We're going to get there. But Last Crusade is my favorite Indiana Jones movie, and the one that I rewatch the most. Raiders, I watch a ton. Temple of Doom is a distant third for me. But for all its perfection that Raiders has, this one doesn't attempt perfection. This gives you Indiana Jones's father, though, which is a whole other thing. With Sean Connery, they're seeking the cup of Christ, the Holy Grail. Everything that means, and the Arthurian legend, and all that is just right in my wheelhouse, and I think it's just perfect. Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. is perfect. The dynamic between the two, we're always given something that we didn't know about Indiana Jones previously. His scar, his dad, we learn all of that. And Temple of Doom is technically a prequel, so this is the first sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then, listen, the way this movie ends with Henry Jones Sr. with Sean Connery calling his son Indiana for the first time and telling him to let it go, and then the 4 riders, the father, son, and the best friends, ride off literally into the sunset on a big, wide, just horizon shot, the way John Ford taught Steven Spielberg. That ending, they chose wisely with that ending, because it is the perfect ending in my opinion. It could have all ended there. I love The Last Crusade. Nobody's going to fight me on this, right? It comes in at number 4. And at number 3 is 1993's Jurassic Park. Welcome to Jurassic Park, which is also in this set. This is the last film, in my opinion, that made the entire country feel like they had witnessed something completely new and just groundbreaking that will change cinema and the world and pop culture forevermore. Steven Spielberg taking Michael Crichton's novel in this one, Stan Winston's practical effects, industrial light and magic with groundbreaking new CGI, mixing it with the practical effects, and the communal shock. I was there as a teenager seeing this in the movie theater, seeing those dinosaurs living, breathing, and they still look more real than any other thing that we get today. CGI dinosaurs, nothing has topped this, in my opinion. It has not been topped. 30 some odd years later, it still hasn't been topped. The technology wasn't advanced, the filmmaking was better. The understanding of how to mix practical effects, hydraulics, CGI, weather, all of that, lighting, that has been lost. Here, it was absolute perfection. The restraint of knowing when to show those dinosaurs and not, instead of just constantly showing them, that's something that a director of that era, Spielberg, someone like him, knows how to do that most modern filmmakers, directors have no idea how to do. Jurassic Park is the most technically significant and just one of the most incredible films of the 1990s and one of the best of Spielberg's career. That wonder, that awe, that spectacle, the scares, the cinematography, the direction. This film is absolutely incredible. It comes in at number 3. Now at number 2 is 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Listen, Indiana Jones is my favorite franchise ever made. Harrison Ford is my favorite actor ever. I mean, dude is Indiana Jones and Han Solo. Get out of town. Now, movie star, when you bring in just movie star, you start talking Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and all that. But Harrison Ford, absolutely incredible. And the difference here is this is essentially probably a perfect film. You might get this on my I'm working on a perfect films essay. This might be there. And it is just the best, one of the best, maybe the most perfect adventure film ever made. But Last Crusade might be the most fun adventure film ever made. See the difference? The opening sequence alone with the boulder stands the test of time. John Williams score. Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. The way this was shot, the way this was done. This can only be Steven Spielberg. Nobody else would have had this come out this way. It is absolutely insane. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a perfect film. You'll see it again soon. Just a little spoiler alert. No scene was wasted. No beat was wasted. No shot was wasted. Everything is perfect in this film. The only reason it's at number 2 and not number 1 is because the other film completely changed the course of cinema history. So Raiders comes in at number 2. And of course, at number 1 is 1975's Jaws. Now, whether you like Jaws or not doesn't change the impact that this film had, or the fact that it is technically also a perfect film. Jaws changed everything. Jaws changed everything, not just for Spielberg, but for cinema, for Hollywood, for everything that came after, for the relationship between summer movies that define the era that this channel celebrates, and so much more, and pop culture in general. Not like before Jaws, there was no such thing as the summer blockbuster. It literally pretty much coined that term and that concept as a cultural event that everybody had to see something simultaneously, and so they were waiting around the block to get in. There was no model for a mainstream film generating that kind of experience before that. Jaws invented all that. Not to mention, it gave a hefty fear of the water for generations to come. The mechanical shark barely worked. It went millions over budget. It went days and months over budget. But the Indianapolis speech, written by John Milius and self-edited by Robert Shaw, the way that scene is in that movie is absolutely incredible. John Williams' 2-note score, still producing fear in people today. Jaws is not just Steven Spielberg's best film. It is the film that made Steven Spielberg as we know him possible. Without this and without the success of it, we don't get Spielberg in all of his other films, most likely because nobody was going to hire him after all of that mess. This film proved that a 27-year-old director could make a mainstream film of genuine cinematic ambition and reach enormous audiences without compromising quality or scale. He made it all practical out there on the water. God bless him for that. Everything that came after it, Raiders, E.T., Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, all of it exists because Jaws made it possible. Number 1, unanimously, forever, is Jaws. So there you go, 15 films, an extraordinary career, an extraordinary set to honor the man here. War of the World, all of them. You can go back through the list. You let me know your list, but I'm going to stand by mine because the conversation about what Spielberg is, what he represents, and what he is about and his films is one that matters some of the most in cinema history, and he is my favorite director, and I would argue the best of all time when it comes to traditional Hollywood wonder and that magic that we think of with movies. And that's what I got for you. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. You can join my Patreon. Check that out. You get deep dives into all this stuff. I'm going to go through it and review it there. Special members only videos and so much more. You get your name in lights, blockbuster style on every single video, and I really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. It's Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.